Did you know that companies waste hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on cybersecurity? Wait, what? Don't you mean invest in cybersecurity? Nope, you heard me right. Waste as in money down the drain, and given the global economic and market conditions that we are in as we are recording this in 2023, no company or individual can afford to waste resources. I'm Sheena Garcia, and welcome to the table. If you're curious if perhaps maybe your company is guilty of wasting thousands of dollars on cybersecurity, stick around to find out more. So let me explain why companies believe they are investing in cybersecurity when in reality they're actually wasting money in cybersecurity, and what is driving this phenomenon. If you watch my previous video on pen testing, I talked about how this activity alone doesn't prevent an incident or breach from happening. It merely provides an organization with awareness into the realm of possibility based on the vulnerabilities that exist in their environment, their application, or their product. In a similar vein, I have clients that invest in having a security maturity assessment performed, and this is performed more commonly for an organization's overall cybersecurity program. But there are clients that will double click, if you will, and they want this performed specifically for their software or product development practices, which is actually one of the areas that my team specializes in. Our mission is to help our clients integrate security into their product development processes. Now, depending on which cybersecurity firm you hire, this can range on average anywhere from $100,000 to well over $200,000, depending on the firm. The upper end of the spectrum is likely what you'll find with larger firms such as the Big Four. The cost of just having a maturity assessment performed as a standalone activity in and of itself isn't cheap, friends, especially depending on your company's budget. So let me explain where the waste of money comes in. Similar to that pen test, that is only awareness of where and why your cybersecurity program is at the level it is from a people, process, technology, and capability standpoint. Keep in mind, this is only the prerequisite, the analysis. So now you have a report card, if you will, and a roadmap of what to focus on and the associated activities that your organization can tackle, and typically are laid out for you with the lowest effort and highest impact to your organization's risk. But where I see several companies and organizations fail is a failure to take action on those initiatives. I just had a potential client, reach out a few weeks ago inquiring about a maturity assessment for their SLC. He informed me that they had one about 3 years ago, and I said, well, great. How has the organization progressed? I'm curious. The answer was he didn't know. This was done and initiated by the CISO at the time, who was no longer with the company. So there is now someone new in the role for about the past year or so, and they're going through this process all over again. Now, if the average time in the role for a CISO at a company is about 18 months, the output and efforts of the assessment clearly weren't being tracked in this case, and who knows if anything actually had been done based on that assessment. It isn't a surprise that they are trying to figure out yet again where they are. But can you easily see how this becomes cyclical in nature with very little progress, but yet funding is being invested every 2 to 3 years, or possibly even sooner when somebody new comes in and perhaps hires a third-party firm to assess where things are? Had there been ownership and accountability for driving this, measurements occurring for the initiatives they were implementing, they would have had a pretty good idea of how much they had progressed over the last 3 years. And then they wouldn't necessarily need another maturity assessment, but could have invested those funds into really sharpening another area of their cybersecurity program for maybe identity and access management as an example, or tooling that goes along with that, perhaps building a more robust threat modeling program if they had one in place, worrying about integrating their third-party assets, looking at third-party risks as an example, and associated integrations. So here's another area in which I see money being wasted in cybersecurity, and that is called security tooling. So everyone is always looking for ways in which to make life easier for their security teams, because let's face it, the complexity that we deal with, the new technology that comes out, the way we do business, and how that continues to evolve at a very rapid rate, by the way, which isn't going to slow down. But nonetheless, technology is absolutely an enabler, and we can leverage that to help automate and do more with less. However, friends, let me tell you all of the things that I see in which companies fail here, and again, ultimately end up wasting the money that they invested to improve their cybersecurity programs. For starters, just because you've secured funding and signed a contract for the next amazing tool that's gonna scan vulnerabilities, whether it's in your cloud environment, your applications, your networks, etc., it doesn't mean that your problems are all solved. As much work as it was to get to that point, the work really is just honestly beginning. And this is what I mean. So hurdle number one is the setup process. It takes time, energy, and effort to get that security tool installed, set up, account provisioning, integration, onboarding processes, submitting trouble tickets, basically all of the things. So I had a client purchase a cloud product last year in December, and they just started working on getting it set up in March of this year. Because of that time investment that it took, they were paying for this for 2 to 3 months and hadn't even taken it out of the box, so to speak. This is like you paying for a gym membership in January, but not going until March or April. Hurdle number two is learning how to use that tool. You've managed to get past hurdle number one, which was the setup. Great. And obviously, depending on this, it varies on what it is. But hurdle number two is learning how to become proficient at actually using that tool. So how do you navigate through the settings, the capabilities, the features, the functionality, the tuning, etc. Now, hurdle number three is actually making use of that output. You've made it this far, and now you have data and output. Yay, you can rejoice. But guess what? Now you have to figure out what the output actually means. How do you analyze it? How do you know if it's valid? How do you know what actions to take with that information? The last hurdle I have for you is loss of expertise. Perhaps you didn't have any of these issues. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but you basically had 1 or 2 resources that knew how to use that tool or got trained and now have left the company for a better opportunity. So guess what happens? That tool becomes shelfware, and back to the original point, a waste of money. So I want to be clear that all of these things are in fact valuable if the appropriate action follows, action being the key word here. My final and parting words of wisdom here for you are make a solid and holistic plan. Maturity assessments, pen testing, security tooling, etc. are all ingredients for a great recipe, and in this case, an impactful cybersecurity program. But if you don't have the other ingredients or know what order in which to use them or how to use them, then the result won't be what you're hoping to achieve. Plan for the time, plan for the effort, the training, the process integration, etc. that needs to happen to follow. If you don't have the skills or experience within your organization, then part of that plan is to understand who can help if you don't have it in-house. I hope this has been insightful for you and has provided you at least with some food for thought. If so, please hit the like button, perhaps share with somebody else that this could benefit, and subscribe for future videos. Thank you so much and have an amazing day, and until next time, thank you.